Howdy, welcome to our Rubrics and Canvas training. This is presented by the Office for Academic Innovation. My name is Isabel Elizalde, and I am happy to walk you through today this Rubrics and Canvas training session. So we're going to go ahead and get started. As an overview during this training, we're going to talk about how to cover, how to create and manage rubrics and attach them to assignments and discussions. We do recommend going through the training that we have on our LMS website, as this week we were talking a lot about student engagement and feedback and all that other stuff this week, next week, and the next few weeks to come. While all of these topics are chunked in very specific bites, everything works together in this digital learning environment hand in hand. So we're not going to talk too much about how to create assignments, but we're going to talk more about how to create rubrics that attach to the assignment and how to evaluate the student work in that way. So housekeeping, just like every other training session we have during this session, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. We can answer them at the end of this session today. We might have a few minutes there, or you're also welcome to attend our virtual office hours, and more information on our virtual office hours can be found on our website. First things first, I will be demonstrating a lot of things for you today, switching between this PowerPoint and Canvas. So you're welcome to try these things out with me as I'm going along if you're able to, but we will be able to post this recording of this session for later viewing. And also I'm going to try my best to remember to send you all the PDF of this PowerPoint at the very end so that you can use it for reference. But first thing, if you want to follow along, you're going to log in into Canvas. Our favorite way to tell people how to log into Canvas is to navigate to LMS.TAMU.EDU. On the top right-hand side, click Login, and then logging in with your TAMU.NET ID and password. So on the topic of that website, I am going to do is I'm actually going to let me reshare. I am actually going to show you the LMS website here, LMS.TAMU.EDU, which I'm going to talk really quickly about some things that you can find on this website. More importantly, our training and support page right here. On this, we'll have our training. So if you're here with us today, you've already been to this website before, so you know about our training schedule. We will be updating it relatively soon for the upcoming week's training sessions, but just keep in mind, we are going to be starting from now on doing themes. So for example, this week's theme was assessment of learning in Canvas using SpeedGrader, feedback, and rubrics. Next week, we're going to talk more about engaging students in Canvas, so on and so forth. So just keep an eye out for our training schedule or calendar and the themes we're offering that week. But we will also be posting our videos. So for example, we have our video library on Canvas, on proctoring, Zoom, and eCampus. So please refer back to this area for our archives of our training sessions and our smaller chunked videos as well too. But enough about the amazing LMS website. We're going to talk more about this training, which is the rubrics training. By the end of this session, hopefully you as a participant will be able to create a rubric for an assignment, create a rubric for a discussion, and then you're going to be able to grade assessments using a rubric in SpeedGrader. So we'll talk about all those things today in the next 26 minutes. So let's get started. So what is a rubric? All right, rubrics are a tool in Canvas and also a teaching practice, a strategy, to help you with evaluating and grading student work. Typically, rubrics are used with sets of criteria, sets of descriptions, ratings, and then points associated. In a rubric, you might have criteria such as what you're looking for or what you're expecting out of your student for this specific assessment. You might be looking for something like proper formatting. You may be looking for substance, quality feedback on a discussion post. You may be looking for the individual content knowledge, whether or not the focus is on topic. All of those things are considered their criteria, right? The details are in the description. What is it that you're looking for in regards to content knowledge, mastery level, maybe what format it is you're looking for, MLA, APA, how many word count, whatever it is that you're requiring from that assignment would be then the description of the criterion. Then there's ratings. What is it that you consider to be what level of acceptability, right? You can have an excellent level where you get the full points, maybe a good level that has half the points and needs improvement, and then missing altogether. That's just a very common scale that you would probably use in a rubric, where then you attach points to it, right? So excellent may have the full amount of points, good has maybe 3/4 of the points, needs improvement maybe has 1/4 of the points, and then missing would have about more than likely either 0 or little points at all. And then whenever you're grading, it's going to help you out to be able just to click, 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 grade. I'm able to select the individual area using the rubrics tool in Canvas that applies with the ratings to automatically calculate a grade for me for my submission, for my student submissions, and then I can easily give and deliver that feedback to the student so they know why I graded them the way I graded them. So using this as a communication tool and an assessment tool go hand in hand together. So now let's talk about creating a rubric. How do you create a rubric in Canvas? Well, from this point on, I will be switching between this PowerPoint and Canvas itself. So let's go ahead and let me go into Canvas. So here in Canvas, I'm just in my main dashboard. I've already logged in and everything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my training course that I use for training everything. Let's go into that training course in a little bit. Okay, so here on the left-hand side for my course navigation, I have a rubrics area. This rubrics area is for instructor management only. If I made this visible, students will still not be able to see it because it's for instructor management of the course. If you want a student to see a rubric, you will have to attach it to an assignment or a discussion so that they can kind of see it hand in hand whenever they're submitting their submission. So from this rubrics area in my course navigation, I want to click on here just to see what I have. And I already have quite a few rubrics in here that I've been creating along the semester. But for now, I'm just going to go into one that I've already created to see what a full one would look like. And this is what a full rubric, a fully implemented rubric would look like, right? I have a title of the rubric. I have my criteria. So earlier when I was talking to you about those categories of things I'm looking for in an assignment, I have my different levels of ratings down here. And I have the points associated and then the total points possible down here as well too. So this is the, think of it like kind of like a matrix of some sort. Far left first column is going to be your criteria, and then the middle is going to be your ratings, and then the points associations. In the individual ratings, I have further descriptions of what it is I'm looking for specific for the individual rating, and you would be able to do all of this as well. So I want to go back into my area and let's just start adding a rubric. My recommendation, my personal recommendation is for you to create your rubrics first from this area and then attach it to the assignment, just so you can create all of them at once and kind of go through making sure you have what you need. And then whenever you're done with that, then you attach them to the assignments as necessary. Reason why we say that is for the most part, you may have rubrics that are very close to each other. So let's say you have discussions and you want a different rubric for every discussion. You can make all of your discussion rubrics first and then attach them where necessary as you needed to. So let's go ahead and click add a rubric right here on the top right hand side. And then by default, it's titled some rubric. So let's title this final research paper, right? Title it final research paper just for myself. And then down here, I can go ahead and start inputting my criteria. So let's say, for example, what I did was I clicked this pencil icon. The description of the criteria is just like the name of it. So let's say format. And then long description, paper is formatted correctly using APA style, right? After I put my long description, just like a general overarching description of that criterion, I click update criterion. Then I can start modifying my ratings, right? I have full marks, no marks by default. If I click this pencil icon, I can start inputting my score. So let's say I want this to be 40 points. Full marks, that's that level, right? The level of achievement. So maybe I don't like full marks, I like excellent, or exceeds expectations, right? And then the rating description, I would put what exceeds expectations. So paper, right? Something like that, something that's very specific. I would probably elaborate on this a little bit further to give exactly what it is, and then I would click update rating when I'm done, and there you go. I can click on this plus right here in the middle between this exceeds expectations that used to be full marks and the no marks to add additional rating levels. So maybe I need 3, automatically it goes to half of whatever the 40 minus the 0 was, 40, the range. So automatically it goes to 20 points. I personally go to the 3/4 mark, and then meets expectations, whatever it is I needed to put, and then I can keep going, updating my ratings as necessary. Other things I can do is, let's say I wanted an individual range. I don't want them to get the full 40 points or the full 30 points. Maybe they got a little bit less than the 30 or the 40. I can then include range, so right here. And then whenever I'm grading, I can select the range of where they fit in between these two areas. So I had originally had 40 here, I originally had 30 here, and now what it does is it gives me the range of acceptability between 40 and 30, because that's going to be in between. And it does that all across the area. I can uncheck that if I don't want to, check it if I do want to, whatever I needed to do. After I'm done with this individual criterion, I can click the the plus criterion to keep on adding different ones. I can duplicate the previous criterion that I had used right here, or I can create a brand new one if I needed to. If you utilize outcomes, you can also attach this to outcomes. If you are using that, that's a separate training all in itself, but that's a possibility right here. Once you're done with your rubric, you can go ahead and click on Create Rubric. And you have now added that rubric to your course. So let's go back to our PowerPoint to make sure I covered everything I needed to. We talked about the rubric rating, that you would click on that pencil icon in the individual rating, put in how many points you wanted it to be, the title of itself, and then the description. Another thing to note that I have right here on my slide is that, just to note, is that you can have whole points or decimal points. However, if you are using a range, point values should be whole numbers. It's just like a recommendation. Assignment rubrics, let's talk about that now. So we went over how to create a rubric, nothing too difficult for actually adding the rubric. It's more about the details of the criterions and the description. They may take a little bit longer to do. So you may choose to do this like in a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet first, just so you can draft out everything you needed to, and then copy and paste that whenever you're ready into the Canvas rubric tool. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my assignments section for my course navigation to navigate to my assignments index page. And under my research project, I'm going to go ahead and add a new assignment. This is my final research paper. I'm going to go ahead and click on this more options on the bottom left hand of that pop-up menu to take me to that page I'm used to. There it is. So that's my final research paper. Points, 40 points. I need this to be an online submission file. Uploads. I would have the due date if I needed to, and then I can click on save. Okay. Now I would put all of my information that I needed to right here. But when I'm in my assignment itself, I can click this plus rubric right below, right there. I can create a brand new rubric if I needed to in this area, or since I've already created my rubric, I can click this Find a Rubric. Now it's going to actually show me every single course I'm currently enrolled in as a teacher. So if I needed to bring in a rubric from another course, I I can do that from this area. But for now, what I'm going to do is just select that final research paper rubric that we just created together. And then once I find it, I make sure this is the one that it was, the one I had created, and then I go ahead and click use this rubric. And there you go. I have attached it now to this area. I can make changes and modify any settings from here too. So if I cancel that, the way I did that is click this pencil icon, because there's a few settings we want to talk about down here. So you have the option from down here to write free-form comments when assessing students. If you turn this on, you get some other limitations where you don't get those ratings. They're just free-form comments. Remove points from rubric. Maybe you don't want you just want it to be a rubric that you use for grading, not necessarily for point values. You can do that as well. But as you see, once I start clicking this, there's some options that kind of go away as I enable them. Don't post outcomes results during Mastery Gradebook. If you utilize that, you can select it. Use this rubric for assignment grading. This is seriously super important if you want to use this rubric for grading. In order for you to use it in the speed grader, you will have to have this checked so that you can have that option to click through and grade efficiently and effectively for your rubric. Hide score total for assessment results too, that you can also do that if you needed to as well. For my example, and my recommendation to anyone using a rubric is to use this rubric for assignment grading, and then click update rubric. And there it is. It is now attached to my assignment. In a little bit, we'll talk about what it looks like when you're R grading, but for now, what we're going to do is this is the way to do it for an assignment. Now let's talk about how to do it for a discussion. So I'm going to go to my discussions area and find a discussion. Reason why I'm doing this is because it's a little different from how you do it with an assignment. If I'm in my, here it is. Nope, let's not do that one. Let's do a different one. So if I'm in my, this one, discussions, I can add a rubric to anything that has a graded discussion. All right, so I'm in my discussion. I can click on edit on the far right-hand side, make sure it's graded. I do know it's graded, but just make sure it is. Make sure I have the graded option turned on because you won't be able to add a rubric to something that's not a graded discussion. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Let's go back in here. On the top right-hand side, click these three horizontal dots, vertical dots, my apologies. And then from here, add rubric. A little bit different. By default, it gives you a brand new rubric to select from. I can find a rubric, go into my course, find that discussion rubric, click on it, use this rubric, and there it is. Now I have used this rubric for this assignment as well. So that is how you attach it to an assignment and a discussion. Okay, next let's talk about managing rubrics, right? You can manage your rubrics from the same area we were at earlier. So if I go into the rubrics section, I can go into any of my rubrics I needed to and manage them as I could. So right here I have the edit rubric button. But as a note, I'm going to find one that I haven't used, that I have used. If you've already utilized the rubric for grading, I should have remembered which one it was, obviously. But if you have already utilized the rubric for grading, you will not be able to modify it anymore. So that's just something to note when it comes to the rubrics themselves. But you can do that from the rubrics area in the course navigation. Last thing we're going to discuss is grading using a rubric. So I already have given an assignment to my students where I used a rubric and it was attached to it. So if I go into my, here it is, my research paper draft, I know I have a rubric because it's right here. Go into my speed grader. So multiple ways to access speed grader. We talked about that in other trainings this week. Going into my speed grader. And I'm going to locate a student. Let's go to Kevin's. Okay, so here's Kevin's assignment. I want to grade using the rubric. So the way I would do that is on this panel on the right-hand side, I click View Rubric. And there you go. If another tip and trick that you may want to do is this little bar menu bar that shows up right here. You can resize that as necessary. So you may need to review this paper, give your annotations, and then grade afterwards because it is a little, you will have to be sharing space. But you click View Rubric, and then what's going to happen is you can then choose. I did not use a range. I used just the straight points. So I would then choose the individual selections as I needed to, right? As I do this, I can give comments to the individual. So if I click on this area or whatever it is, I can give individual comments for this criteria. If I click on this, give my comments to my student. I can also manually modify the points on the right. Same thing with each of these individual comment areas right there. Or I can give overall assignment comments. We talked about that in our other training session this week. So we recommend going to those, going or reviewing those videos if you haven't already, where you can give overall feedback. And then once you're done grading and you've gone through and you feel like you're ready to give the grade, you can click on Save. And right here you get a preview of that grade, but click on Save. And it didn't do because I had this as a resubmission. I can manually. Let's go to Deanna since she had only one submission. And then it would populate the grade up in here. After I've done that, click Save. And then I can then submit. Maybe. I can then submit my grading, and then Deanna would be graded. And I do see that Deanna now had finished grading because I see that checkbox on the top right-hand side. So that's how to grade using the rubric. Saw how easy it was. I just clicked, and I was able to be done with my grading really fast. So. Rubric best practices, that was a tongue twister for me, is make sure you're showing the rubric to your students so that you clearly are giving them your expectations, letting them know what it is you expect out of them since the beginning, making them aware of those criterions, their ratings, so that when they're creating and submitting their assignment, they know what it is to do to get to that point of what they want to achieve for that grade. Also, a little tip and trick is to use that Find a Rubric tool that I showed you earlier so that you can use rubrics that you have in other courses. This is something that Canvas does really well that other LMSs may have not. So just utilizing that tool to its fullest extent. So you all are welcome to try this at home, create a rubric for an assignment or a discussion just to test your mastery of this training session. But training opportunities that we have, like I mentioned earlier, we have plenty of them on for this past week that we just gave all of our training, for the upcoming weeks, such as the feedback on assignments in Canvas and feedback on quizzes in Canvas, and then today's rubrics. I am going to remember to send this today, but on the PDF that I'm going to send it to you, you will receive links to different resources from the Canvas community. We use the Canvas community every single day, maybe 100 times a day. It is the best resource out there directly from Canvas to help us with help documentation and resources on what it is we need to, on whatever it is we needed to learn about that's in that moment. I'm going to try to open up. There you go. Now I am sending that Rubrics and Canvas PDF that you can use as a resource to refer to, so you can get these resources both for faculty and for students. And then last thing we have for you, For more resources, you can head over to our LMS.TAMU.EDU website. Join us for virtual office hours, come to our training, watch our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will be posting this video recording and others on that as well. Social media, if you have a Twitter and Instagram, follow us there as we do post things there too, at TAMU_innovation. Our support desk, AI help at TAMU.EDU 979-458-3417, and our Canvas community, which is what I was referencing earlier. But that is all I have for y'all today. I'm going to go ahead, and this concludes the training on rubrics and Canvas.
To learn more, please visit LMS.TAMU.EDU or email us at aihelp@TAMU.EDU. Thank you.